Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to come here. This is my first time in Taiwan. I was very happy to receive the invitation by TaiwanTrade through Mr. Ran Yechezkel, our Israel's commercial attaché here in Israel. I'd like to speak with you a little bit about how the similarities between Taiwan and Israel, and I'd like to talk more about Israel specifically and about what we do, and to try to see if you could get the most out of it for your own ventures and as well as for the country, for your state. So let's talk a little bit about, first of all, background. Maverick Ventures is a fund, the venture capital fund that's based in Israel and focuses on Israel technological companies. We have two funds as of now, with over $40 million deployed. We've invested in nearly 20 companies to date, and now we're raising our third fund, which is part of why we are here in Asia as well. As you can see, we're split into different sectors in clean tech, on-demand marketplaces, cybersecurity, predictive maintenance for industry, and different marketing technologies as well, and of course clean tech and fields of shared economy. So a quote by Professor Eugene Kandel, which said, "The only areas where Israel is not limited by size are in quality of ideas and in the innovative spirit." And this is Israel's strongest natural resource, I would say, and has been for years since establishment. The brain, basically, trying to think and find creative solutions and creative ideas and to sort of exploit those both internally and overseas. So a little bit about Israel, and this is kind of staggering, these data points. So there's roughly 6,000 active startups. That means 1 per 1,700 residents, which is really astonishing. Tel Aviv, which is where I come from, is the epicenter of the startup scene with about 1 per 300 residents. Okay, 1 startup per 300 residents. Has the highest per capita investment in startups globally in the entire world. Almost $5 billion invested in last year in 2016, which is about twice at Germany. It was just 2.5. Israel accelerated the most NASDAQ companies aside from the United States. Some of the foreign companies in Israel are many names and brands that you probably know, as you could see listed there. It's a number 2 in global innovation hubs, just behind the Silicon Valley. And there are over 350 multinational companies that have development centers, R&D centers, in Israel. This is a little bit about Israel's innovative ecosystem. You could see that, as I said, on my right-hand side are different types of accelerators and incubators for companies that are in much earlier stages. And then those feed into the top. You see the multinational R&D centers, which we mentioned earlier, that derive some of their ideas from there and some of the talent from there as well. And of course, there's 6,000 startups, of which roughly 1,400 new startups every single year are formed. Again, this is a country of just over 8 million people, so that's pretty impressive. A few success stories that came out of Israel in recent years. There's SolarEdge, there's Mobileye, which you probably heard of, which was sold to Intel just a couple months ago for over $15 billion after having gone public. There's Waze, which was founded and established in Israel, Checkpoint, Playtika, a company where my wife works, which was acquired by a very large Chinese consortium about 1.5 years ago, Wix, Public, Intocell, Trusteer, and many other companies, which I'm pretty sure you've heard of, and don't really know that they have an Israel connection to them. But many of the companies, in fact, do. The similarities between Taiwan and Israel, I think, are very, very clear. Taiwan and Israel are both relatively very small in size, but have a very big global reach and impact. The global growth, we've talked about it earlier, but it comes from encouraging entrepreneurship. And this is something that has to be embedded within society, both through the government and through the society itself, through the members of society. And I feel that here, for sure, where people are encouraged to dream big and in a way that's unconventional and to embrace risks. And when I talk about embracing risks, it's very important to also realize the importance of failure. Okay, it's very important not to be afraid to try and to appreciate failure. In Israel, for instance, if somebody started a startup and the startup failed, nobody frowns at him or her. But rather, they embrace that because you learn a lot from failures. In other cultures that I've been to, failure is often frowned upon and looked down on. Then when somebody tries something and fails, which statistically they will probably fail because that's the statistics of startups and startup successes, they sort of are shown at, and that's it. That's sort of the rest of their careers down the drain, and they go looking for an office job. But in Israel, it's encouraged to fail. It's encouraged to try and to keep trying. There are many stories where people failed and have inevitably prevailed over everything. Let's talk a little bit about cross-border data flows. We've talked about there's 1 billion social networking users that have at least one foreign connection within their communities. Now, 2.5 billion people have email accounts with 200 billion emails sent every single day. 250 million people currently live outside their home countries as expats, migrant workers, and so on. 350 million people use e-commerce sites that are cross borders to purchase things that they have an interest of. And a few of the people that spoke both before me and that are going to speak after me are people who have different types of sites that actually do exactly that. They sell all over, whether it's here in the region in Southeast Asia or whether it's elsewhere as well. So the digital world has become very small, in fact, and any market, now the borders are kind of unclear, right? And any market could be effectively penetrated from anywhere. So you could be sitting in Taiwan and sell to the United States. You could be sitting in Taiwan and sell to Denmark. You could be sitting in Taiwan and sell within Taiwan. It doesn't really matter anymore. And everything has made it much easier to sell in today's world. And data. Data is the key to everything. Data matters a lot. As the gentleman before me from Google discussed in depth, and the lady from Amazon, data is extremely important. Data is a differentiator. Again, it doesn't matter where you're based. It doesn't matter what your conditions are. Your skill sets coupled with data are what matters and what will help you prevail. Okay, so it's very important to analyze your local economic trends, but also analyze international economic trends as well, and to try to adapt to the local customs of wherever you're trying to sell and penetrate to. It would be very helpful if you devote resources to strategic planning and invest the needed capital prior to actually trying to penetrate other markets. That's about it. Thank you very much. I'm going to participate in a panel after this, and we'll be able to get some more questions. And I'm available for anyone right around here if you have any questions. And I encourage you to look into Israel for innovation. And I really think that Taiwan has a very, very bright future. And I'm excited for you all. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you so much to